different editors charge differently. There are those who charge 1 bob per word. There are those who charge if it's poetry per poem. There are those who charge a blanket figure. After skimming through your manuscript, they'll just give you a blanket figure. So it's different. But also that changes depending on the kind of publishing. We'll go into that. Once editing is done, it means your work now is good to go. Now, a few things that will follow is copywriting. Copywriting in Kenya, you do it with Kekobo. Currently, there's a waiver, it's free of charge to copyright your work. Just submit your manuscript, you copyright. And actually, copywriting, you can do that even before you begin publishing. Yeah, it's okay. But yeah, you have done editing, you do copywriting, then you purchase the ISBN number or the ISBN. ISBN is International Standard Book Number. Basically, it's like an ID for a book. This is whatever we usually see at the back of a book. It's basically to identify your book. If you have happened to be in one of these big libraries or bookshops, you find that there's usually computers where you just insert a number or a title of a book, and then it will tell you on which shelf where to go. So this is the number it's used, and it's different for each and every book. You have to get a different ISBN for every new book you publish, or for a different edition. For example, if I did second edition of this book, I'll need another ISBN number. Okay. Currently, an ISBN number goes at 1,500 shillings from KNLS, Kenya Library, National Library. They can sell it to you at 1,500. But again, we'll come to that depending on the kind of publishing you go through. Once you get the ISBN number, in tandem with that, you're working with the graphic designer to produce a cover page for you, to do the book layout. If your book needs illustrations or pictures, this is the time the graphic designer is now going through the work. Once it has been edited, so they are curating the illustrations, the book cover. Once that is done, you're good to go to print your copies now. You go print your copies, and voila, you begin selling. So that's it. That's the process of publishing. It's quite simple. It's also not so simple, but it is simple when you know how to do it. I went for traditional publishing for this one because I knew nothing then. But for this one, even when I only approached one publisher and he was like, hey, we can't do that. So I thought, let me do it self-publishing. And it wasn't difficult because I know the ropes and how to do it. So yeah, again, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. But here it is. So that's it. That's the process of publishing. Any question?
Like, what was downside ya sijui kama mabonga kuhusu downside ya self-publishing? Mabonga please. Okay.
I'm going there.
Pole. Nauliza maswali zinakama. What was the hardest thing for you compiling the two of the copies? Like working on the missions on life
and
Lexicon. Yeah.
Okay. Good questions, but zote ziko mbele. I'll answer you. Nataka swali on that process if you have it.
The process.
Yeah. Yes, there's a question.
Maybe you could, I don't know if you said it, could you mention again traditional publishing? I think I missed that. What does it entail?
Okay,
yes.
Okay. I see. That's also next.
I don't know if my question is next. You've talked of manuscript.
Yeah.
So what is the process that drives me to have a manuscript? Or what is the process? Somebody who has never written before a manuscript doesn't know how it looks like. He just know how to jot down our ideas. Okay. How do you end up having a manuscript?
Okay, interesting. I don't think there's a textbook way of doing it. I know people who decide I want to write a book about the Gen Zs in Kenya, a novel, and they begin writing it. And then there are people who just jot down a story, and once it gets to the end, they realize, oh, this is about femicide, and this is worth being published. Like for this, what I did with this book is I never sat down and decided I want to compile poems or write poems for publication. I was just writing, and then it got to a point where I was published in a number of anthologies, and people kept asking, where is your own book? Where is your book? We need your book. So I went back, collected all my poems, like the way Mungah has lots of poems. So I collected all my poems, and then I sifted through. I remained with around 150 poems, and I submitted those to the publisher. And the editor cut through them from 150 to 80 poems. Yeah, and those are the ones that made it here. And they are divided in different chapters. But there are people who decide, I want to write a poetry book on grief. So from the onset, you're only writing poems on grief. And then once you hit a certain number, you're like, this is my manuscript. Okay. Currently, I'm working on a collection of short stories. Maybe for the last 3 short stories are the one I was intentionally writing, knowing this will end up in a collection of short stories. But for the first, like the around 11, for the first like 7, I was just writing. I'll write a story and then leave it there, write another one, and I kept on writing. So I went back, collected all of them from since around 2019. Yeah, that's it. And then you sift through, you're like, this is a good story, but it can't make it to this collection. So yeah, that's the process.
Just to add on my question. Sorry.
It's okay.
So there's something I've not with your process. You document, you keep your writing very safely. How would you advise on that? Because some of us may andika kwa kitabu ingine leo, hiyo kitabu maybe sitaipata tena. Like, how can we go about that so that when the time comes, I have everything maybe in one place safe? How do you go by that? Because umeniambia story, poems zako za kwanza
2019. No, the poems actually from 2015. Yeah, but the stories from 2019. Akona answer to that question. So nakumbuka akisema alipoteza most of his writings and then akaanza kutumia Google Keep Notes. Yeah, with that you're always sure you'll find them. Me Nairobi.
Writing in 2013 September. I've lost books. I don't even know where they went, but they had my most genuine emotion. And because of when my last phone crashed in 2018, it was like, yo, let me just do Keep Notes. Yeah. It was painful, especially I wasn't in Nairobi, and then I had written pieces which I was telling myself, this is when I go to Nairobi and perform, I'm the guy. And then I used that one piece that I had. I felt like this was going to take me out of the block.
We are sorry. So yeah, Keep Notes. Also Google Documents. You can use that. Maybe simu Nairobi mingi sana, but I'll always get another phone and I'll find my writings on Google Keep Notes or Google Docs. But then I understand there are people who, like me, when I'm writing a piece to perform, it's rare for me to write it on my phone or computer or laptop. Lazima niandike kwa karatasi kwanza. So what I do is, I have to. So I write on the paper. Once I'm done, na transfer sasa kwa laptop while editing now. So yeah, at least that you're safe that way. I once wrote, I think, a novel kwa kitabu. Nikaandika and then sijui penye kitabu ilienda. I know the story, but when I think of sitting down to rewrite it, I'm like, nah, can't do that. It's too much. But yeah, that's it.
I am one of those people wenye tulifanya kidagaa kimemozea, so tumepoteza mswada.
Mswada.
If you read that book, you understand what mswada means. Yeah. Most of you have not read it, right?
The what?
Don't understand. So mswada is basically a manuscript. So you've written your manuscript, you wanna take it to a publisher. So in that story, this guy, the steering of the story is Amani, who's the steering of the story, is a very talented writer. Then he takes his work to a publisher, and then this publisher tells him, "This I can't publish this work; it's crap." And then the publisher has already copied his work, and then it's written by Ken Walibora, just so you get the intensity of the story. It's Swahili, yeah. So, these publisher steals his work, and this publisher is like related to the how do I put it, quote unquote, like the president of that time. So he steals his work and goes and publishes it in his name. And then at some point he is anaulizwa na news outlets what inspired the story. Oh, it was yeah. I just know they asked him what inspired the story. The guy starts sweating. Yeah. So that was the whole pain of the Mswada thing.
My question is specifically on poetry. When someone's writing poetry, they write based on, as I said, a particular emotion. Like you really know what you're feeling and how you're going to body it into a poem.
Yeah.
So how do editors know how to edit your poem? Like it has never made sense to me. Like when someone tells you, I can edit your poem, how, like you're the one who knows what it means and how you've bodied it. And within yourself, you know that there's a person who will relate to it to a particular point. So how do you edit a poem?
Interesting. I'm actually more of a poetry editor. Good question. We had a session on editing, and we actually edited a poem here. Yeah, in real time. We actually took one of us, we took his poem and edited it out here, and everyone was agreeing with the editing. But yeah, so one is, as an editor, you need to first of all read through the poem and understand what the poet is saying, what they're trying to convey, the voice, all that, and make sure you don't do away with that, even as you're editing. And mostly while editing poetry, mostly what is being done is poetry is a form of literature that thrives on the economy of words. So it's just making sure, if you are saying, I stood up and shouted at him, how can you say that in maybe 2 words? And that's enough. And it's understandable. Yeah, there are things that some poets do where you give a line and then in the next line you explain that line. And in the eyes of the editor or even the reader, it feels like you underestimate your reader. Like, my reader is not that intelligent, let me explain. So the editor will do away with that explanation. Yeah, I feel that session was a good one. We should do another one. Yeah, yeah, but that's it about editing poetry. Yes.
I know, hey, naweza pigwa juu ya kuuliza hii swali, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Sijui kama wangapi wamai feel wako kwa situation yenye they're writing, but wako kwa point yenye they don't want to release that writing into publishing, and you feel like you don't want to release the work, to other people to read it ama to experience what you've written, and how do you go about it in such a way that some other people are like watakupa pressure ya release that work, or even sometimes you as a writer una feel like hii writing inafaa wase why experience wa walk na way through that journey, but at the same time go like, nah, this piece is too personal for me to release it outside there. What are you going to do about that? Yani just a nugget of how to go about such kind of situation whereby you have a body of works, but hizo works yani una feel like once utakuwa umerelease, then your soul itakuwa imeenda pia, like part of you don't have any part anymore. Yes, how do you go about that?
Sorry. I guess the question is, why were you creating in the first place? Sorry? So the question is, was it meant, I know Julie mentioned, and I'm really throwing it to you, Julie mentioned wewe una andika with an intention of publishing, but 3 stories to the end ndio unagundua nataka by the kwa kitabu. But if you're coming to the completion of a work, a body of work, na umefika umegundua it's a body of work, the question then for me itakuwa like, why you putting the body of work together? Is it for you? Is it for people? And then now you sort of find your way, but Richie, naturally throw the ball to you.
Okay. Not that I have answers to everything, but I think I'll build up on what you're saying. Ukianza kuandika, what's the intention? Do you intend to ever not release it? Or at some point you might release it, or you are not even thinking of that while writing. Most of the time mimi wasifikiri of that while writing. I'm just writing. If it's a story, I want it to come out of me. I like one of my favorite poets, anaitwa Sarah K, and I like this quote. I think nimeisema everywhere I'm in like a forum. She was asked, it was a question I think on, was it writer's block or something, and then she said, poetry is like pooping. If it's inside you, it must come out. So for me, is once it is out, do you want to share it with the world or not? When I collected these poems, submitted them to the editor, I was quite happy they're going to be published, and then tukapata sample copy to go through it. And that's when it hit me. There are poems there, and I was like, are you sure you want people to read this? Are you sure you want people to know you this much? And even to date, people call me and they're like, this you? Or who is this girl? I'm like, I don't know. So I would say, don't release a body of work because you're being pressured to. It has to be you. You have this, even with the pressure, am I okay? Will I deal with all that will come with me releasing the work? There's a writer, I think I saw it on Substack, alisema kwa alifukuzwa because he has been sharing their people's stories in his books. So they chased him away. Like parents are calling, we thought we were good parents. What is it you're reading from your book? Thought we raised you well. So more inspiration to write. So I think once we mwenyewe as an individual you're comfortable with releasing your work, do it.
And what if you're not?
Don't do it. However much we pressure you. But also some hujiuliza, if I'm writing and then I die with those poems here, what are they helping me with? And you see what we usually think, which is wrong, is that my experience is uniquely for me. It's not always that way. Whatever you're going through, someone else is also going through that. Yeah. NF says in one of his songs that if you're somewhere and you want to commit suicide, just know there are a million of us like you. So it's not so unique. Utashare out and I'll be like, oh, kumbe ona pitia hii. And I'll even like you more as a writer because I identify with you. Yeah.
I feel like I have I have also a response to you. A few years back, okay, they're not that few anymore, but around 2016-17, when I was starting out to write spoken word, I remember realizing that back then the most popular poet I knew was Teardrops and Mufasa, and I identified more with Mufasa. And Mufasa will go on stage and he'd be so emotional. And the moment I wrote a piece that I felt like needed emotion on stage, even practicing it was hard because I was like, hey, do I want people to see me like this? Because I'd been so comfortable with people seeing me calm and composed. And spoken word wants you, for example, there's a piece I wrote about the murders during Mandamano. I shared a video of me reading it out and I was in tears literally. And people are calling me and they were like, are you okay? But I had decided to be vulnerable enough to share that video. I mean, I could have waited to become composed and share the video. But what I was watching in news that time, because I wrote it and I immediately shared the video because I was in tears. I was just like people are so insensitive about what life is, and it's really triggered me, and I was in tears and I was just like, how are you killing all these people and their children and it doesn't even hit you? And I realized from back then and even that piece that me going on stage with tears takes a lot of guts. It takes me being willing to let you guys see me cry. Yes, some will call me a good performer and some will be like, Konalia for. It's like when people were criticizing Straw. I don't know, I found myself with people who have been criticizing that film on Netflix, and it was Straw by Tyler Perry. And they were busy saying, I didn't see anything that would make me cry. But for me, when I watched it, I cried. Because it was emotional. There's a part I identified with that I felt like it touched, that I couldn't humanly possibly keep back my tears. And I've agreed, I'm a crier. I cry when when I consume content and it's too tough, I just let tears out. Like I was listening to this lady on Engage. I don't remember the title, but it's barely 2-3 days ago. And I was about to leave my house and come to town. I sat down to cry because I didn't know how intense that video was gonna be for me. She was talking about having a toxic mom, and I thought I was the only one who felt like I needed to talk about how toxic a mom can be, because I've been in spaces where people have quote unquote perfect moms but only horrible dads. And for me, I have the perfect dad and an over-loving mother who hurts me in the process of loving me. And this lady mentions how even as a child her mother called her malaya, and she didn't even know what that meant back then. And then she grows up and she's like, why would my mother call me a slut? And her mother beating her up because she said that she was on periods when she first encountered periods. You can imagine, Nini. So like being vulnerable enough to just out it and say, yo, I know that you guys have a perfect picture of your mothers, but my story sadly is very different. It's a biological mom, and it's its own well of pain and emotions. And me sharing out most of my pieces is always, am I willing to let the world know that I have an overloving mom?
Is there another question?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I almost forgot. I think I'm getting what's the word? I think let me talk about editor. You're an editor, right?
Yeah.
So at what point I have done this poem, and I think it's close to something she had mentioned, and for some reason the editor feels like this is not how it should be. It should be like this, right? So my question is, what happens when I feel like my point has not really been brought out after the editing? A lot of writers end up firing these editors because I think I would.
Yeah, good. You have a question?
Another question. I wouldn't just don't like this to skip. My friend, on your mom, she doesn't know what she's doing because I attended something and I also didn't know. I also had, my mom was like that way, kidogo, and I did my research very well. They inherit these things and it's generational. So it's never their problem. They don't know. They didn't get the right education to actually be aware of whatever they're going through. And just short, tuko about putting something out. Right now, I'm on a mission to ensure that we don't have starving creators. And one thing on that mission I learned is that for you not to be a starving creator, you have to put out your work over and over again. If you put it to yourself, you won't get it won't pay you. Tukiongea story ya money squish. Yeah, that's why I'm talking about it. This is how the world pay creators. How the universe pay creators. You put out more work. If you put it to yourself, it will never pay you. Just that.
Last one.
Yes, niko na swali lakini
Okay.
Back to kidagaa kimemwozea. Kuna ile wanasemanga uhuru wa mwandishi. Cheki, like I attended the editing process, but kuna you see that ile kutooza lugha, like nani alisema waandishi kama hawa wanakubalika. So like as an editor, me like let's say from my background, me labda ni mgeto, lazima kizungu kitaingia kidogo alafu nituweze hapo na maneno yangu mbili, but nataka message ifike home na ifikie pia you corporates, na pia bado wale watu wa nyumbani waelewe kuna venye inakubalika in the publishing.
Yeah, yes and no, and we'll come to that. Also to your question, we are coming to that. But I'll say now I'm willing to edit a poem. If you can send one poem, and then I'll edit and then send it back to you, and then you'll tell me if you'll want to fire me. But yeah, we'll get to that. To answer briefly, depends with your target audience. Editor atakuuliza who is your target audience. Sorry.
About your target audience, tumekuwa tukiongelea like it's not even about when you write a poem, it's not even about the target audience. Inakuanga kwanza your emotions you want to.
Yeah, but when you're publishing now, you're publishing because you want people to read. So you need to have a target audience. And that's where the question. You can, but sasa when doing that, pia mimi as an editor, I'll have to consider that. And then it will mean I'll have to, because now if it's for yourself, why do you even need an editor then?
Niko na jibu na bado ni swali. Like for myself, umesema NF alisema like when you want to say you are committing suicide, there are some millions people wanna. So me, I'm saying it for myself, meaning labda kuna watu maduplicate kama mimi
Sasa our sando target audience.
Sasa it starts with me, charity starts with them. Like
so when you say that, then it means we will need to define Squishy ni nani, and then this is the target audience. So does Squishy read literature that is pure English? Yes or no? If the answer is no, then kitabu is quite pure English. If Squishy likes mix of Sheng and English, then we can have this in the book. Like we once edited a poetry collection of some guy, and ye mwenye alisema the target audience is primary school children, and there was a poem about sex and it was so explicit, and we had to tone it down. We actually had to rewrite the entire poem because we were like, if your target audience is primary school children, the poem ingekuwa young adults, it could go as it is. Yeah, so there's that. But yeah, to the next one, so that we answer those questions. Traditional publishing, self-publishing, and hybrid. So traditional publishing is the one that has been existing. And basically traditional publishing is you have your manuscript, you submit it to a publisher or agent, and then you see those processes of editing, cover design, ISBN number, copywriting, printing, all that, they'll do it for you. The only time you'll come in is maybe when they're designing the cover page, they might send you 2 samples so that you share which one you favor most. And then when the books are out and they need to be sold. So there are also 2 ways they'll engage you. The first way could be they can pay you a one-time figure. You agree with them, maybe they pay you 1 million, 100,000, whichever figure. And then they're like, for the next 5 years, you're not selling a copy. You're the one who are going to sell, and all the revenue will come to us. Or they may pay you a down payment of, let's say, 100,000, and then they're like, for the next 5 or 10 years, for every copy we sell, you'll get 10%, and then 90 comes to us. Now, that also depends on the agreement you had with the publishing. Agreement 1 could be, you submit your manuscript, they handle all the cost of everything, and then if they do that, they'll have to get their money back by selling. The other way could be, you submit your manuscript and they give you a one-time figure for the entire cost. You pay, they do everything, they'll give you the copies. Now go and sell your copies. That's traditional publishing. Self-publishing is where you, as the writer, you handle all that process. You'll be the one to get your own editor, you work with your editor. After the editing is done, you'll be the one to purchase the ISBN number. After that is done, you'll be the one to copyright your work. You'll be the one to get a graphic designer to design the cover page and do the book layout. You'll also be the one to find a printer to do the printing for you. That's self-publishing. So that means everything is on you, but you'll also reap 100% of the return. Now there's hybrid. Hybrid is where you mix the 2. You can find a publisher who is willing to maybe handle half of it, maybe the purchase of a ISBN number, cover design, and printing, and then you'll handle the copywriting and the editing part. Yeah, and there are those who are like, we'll handle the editing part and printing, you handle the rest. So that's hybrid. Disadvantages and advantages of the 2 processes or the 3 processes. Traditional publishing. Advantage of traditional publishing is that because this is what they do, this company is solely doing this is why they earn a bread. You are almost sure that your work will be of good quality because it will be in the hands of someone who is, this is what they do on a daily. They edit manuscripts. So they are qualified, they have some experience in it. So you're sure at least your work will go through the hands of a good editor. You're sure the graphic designer is someone who wakes up and goes to the company to design book covers. And a graphic designer might have designed a magazine or a pamphlet that's different from a book cover. So at least with traditional publishing, you are sure your work is of good quality, the SBN number is a legit SBN number, the copywriting has been done the right way, the printer, your book will be of good quality, because this is what they do on a daily, and they have a reliable printer or they have a printing machine in their company. That's the main advantage. Disadvantage is that it's usually relatively expensive. And the reason is, I, as the publishing company, I'll have to cater for all these costs, pay the editor, pay the graphic designer, pay the printer, all that. And on top of that, earn something for the company. So you'll find I'll be a little bit higher. Majorly that's usually the main disadvantage. And also on the selling part now of the books, depending on the contract you get. I have a friend whose short story is part of the current set book for the Swahili. And I was like, hey bro, are you any millionaire? And he told me they were paid a down payment of 100,000 and that's it. Like, we are done with you. So you go everywhere, people are reading your book and they're like, you have to be a millionaire, but no.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Before we proceed.
Yeah.
If you are given that amount of money by, let's say, the publishing house, where does the copyright issues, the royalties of you as the writer, where does it lie? Where is the truth lying in this?
The IP is still yours. The company is not claiming they are the writers of this book. You are still the writer, your name is there. In fact, when they are doing promotions, they'll call you to be there, to be interviewed and share your inspirations and all that. And in fact, you'll even sign books, but the revenue is not coming to you. And the analogy is that we catered for the cost of the production of this work.
Okay. I really get that they catered for that. But what I'm asking specifically ni, what about the royalties? What happens to the royalties? Because wakati unaeka copyright, inafaa kuprotect your work in such a way that you get something from your work, I believe so. You and nobody is actually like anakuwa kama the monster that is taking the creative bit of it, because kama watachukua everything and wanakupatia down payment ya 100k, I really feel like that is so cruel. I don't know. That is, in my own belief, that is so cruel to an artist, because bila wewe pia hawangekuwa na book ya kupublish anyway. Hawangekuwa mboka, wewe ndio umewaweka mboka. You are the boss. True. And without that story, possibly waende wa prompt AI iwapatie story wa publish. But if your story ya royalty haita work, I don't see the need ya wao kuchukua like everything and then wanakuweka wendo kama jina ya kwenda kusign na kufanya.
True, you're right, it's cruel, but then again it comes to the contract you sign with them. And usually they don't say like forever we are done with you. They'll tell you for the next 5 or 10 years or whichever years. And why they do that is they already know this collection of work is so good that within the next 5 years it will be a set book. So by the time story ya hiyo kwa set book inaisha, now it's back to you now. So kama for the next 5 years, in fact you can't even sell a copy. In fact, for you to have your own like 2 copies, you need to get it from them, and then you can walk around with it. But it's the contract you signed, and while signing you can always negotiate or you can say no, but yeah, sign. Yeah, and yes, it's cruel, but yeah, that's it. That's the business. And the analogy is we pumped in our money to this work, so we need to regain it. And it happens even in music. That's what happened with music and labels. Yeah, so yeah, that's traditional publishing. And also the other thing with traditional publishing, it's easier for your book to be, let's say, in the curriculum, like a set book, if you went with traditional publishing. And the reason is, I only learned this recently. For a book to be like a set book, it has to go through KICD. And KICD, they don't care that your book has been published, it went through an editor. No, they're like, we need an editor to go through your book to ascertain that it's worth being a set book. And the editor needs to be paid 100,000. And you're not sure it will be a set book. Yeah, so you might give your book and it won't. But for the publishing companies, they'll submit like 10 books and pay their 100 Gs and then chill. And in those 10 books, they're like, maybe 2 will go through or 3, and they get millions of money for that. So yeah, that's the business of it. Now that's traditional publishing. Self-publishing advantage is that it's relatively cheaper. The reason being, you're working with these people one-on-one. If it's an editor, there's room for negotiation with the editor. If it's a graphic designer, at times maybe you're even the graphic designer, though it's not advised to do your own work. Or you have someone who can do, even pro bono maybe. Also the printing, you're working with the printer one-on-one, so you can negotiate. So it's relatively cheaper. Disadvantage is that it risks the quality of your work. If you find that you're working with an editor who is not qualified, doesn't have any sort of experience, your quality of work is tampered with. If the graphic designer have never designed a cover book before, quality of your work again. And the same goes to the printer. There's this intercession actually. We edited someone's book. It was a poetry book. The book was was everything good. We submitted it to the printer, and the printer was not really held up. He had a workload that he wouldn't do within the time, so he decided to offer our work to some other printer. And we were printing 300 copies for a start, and the copies came back and they were horrible. Blank pages all over. Half pages, half blank, half written. So we had to redo all that, and that's cost on the company. Me as the writer, I already paid you guys, so I don't care if I can't take a book that has blank pages. But if it was you, then that's on you. So that's quality. That's the disadvantage. Advantage is relatively cheaper, and also you have full control of the revenue. It's you. Like currently my book, if I sell it to you, that the entire money is on me. In fact, KRA doesn't even know. That's the beauty of it. Hybrid publishing, also depending with the contract you have with your publisher. No, you will cut that out. The agreement you have, the K something. The publisher with the agreement you the agreement you have with your publisher when you're doing hybrid, they may say for the editing and the printing it will cost, let's say 300K, but we'll only ask you to provide 50 Gs, and then we'll need to get 40% of the revenue for the next 5 years or so. So you agree, like you pay us 300 Gs and then we're done with you. Go your way with your books. So that's it. Question. Did I answer all the questions that were asked?
Yeah, you tried. you really tried.
Pending question.
All right. Okay, someone once said, if you think writing is hard, try marketing. So for your self-published work, like where do you market? Like, okay, is it you come here every time, in your bag, please find attached, like 4 copies of everything? Like, how do you do it? And then just based on your own experience, because you've gone traditional and self-publishing, like, which has worked out better, just in terms of return on this investment?
Thank you. I like you guys because you keep asking questions that are ahead. Next is marketing, so I will go to that.
I was almost going to ask ilikuwa ni kama ni almost the same question, but at the same time you are shining us away that iko huko mbele.
No, you can feel us.
Okay. My question is, when we are doing publishing, where does publishing really end? Publishing itaishia point yenye umepata physical copy a book, you as a writer, ama publishing inaishia point yenye sasa readers wamepata access to the book? Where does publishing really end now that tumeestablish inaanzia kwa kukuwa na manuscript? Unaona, inaanza na kwa kukuwa na manuscript. Sasa hii publishing yenye tuko nayo ina end na wapi? Yes.
Okay. Any other question? Okay. Yeah. So the marketing bit. To answer your question first, where publishing inaishia. Essentially, inaishia once the book is out. It can be read. Someone can have it in their hands, in their library. It can be read. But the process doesn't end there, whether it's traditional or self-publishing. And that's where the marketing bit comes in. If you went with traditional, sigh of relief on the marketing bit, because they'll do it. They'll even have a budget for it. They'll some even book you interviews on radios, media stations, go talk about the book, especially if it's on something trending. There are book fairs. Those book fairs you need to book a tent. It needs some money. If it's traditional, they pay one figure and they have a number of books there. And then they'll invite you to come sit there and sign the books as they sell. Yeah.
The way I know myself, that is okay.
No, you can be a good publisher. Who doesn't?
Things I'm hearing today.
Yeah. If it's self-publishing, now you're on marketing. Once the book is out, the first thing you need to do is, before even your book is out, when you know my book is in the hands of the editor, and you can see smoke, you know because once the editor has done, the book is good to go, you are sure your book is going to be out. You can start sharing out there. You can start sharing on your socials, giving them hints, you can start posting things like, you guys are not ready for whatever is coming, just
Yes, you guys are not ready.
Yeah. Posting things like, who is your favorite Kenyan author? And then people share their feedback and like, but do you know that a guy called Buba Okots? I'm about to introduce these guys to you. So just sharing out. And then when the cover is out, the book is not even out yet. The cover is out. You can share the cover. Yeah, people are seeing the cover. So it's already in people's mind that there's a book coming out. Once the book is out, organize a book launch. It can be as glamorous as it can be, but it can also be as simple as it can be. The point is, people should know there's a book. It has been launched. You can do it online. You can do it in person. Next step is the book needs to get in the bookstores, bookshops. Nuria, Cheche Bookshop, Somanami. Approach them. Also, different bookshops have different policies. At least I know for Nuria is you stock with them free of charge. if they sell your copy, they share, they take, is it 30? Yeah, 30% of the, yeah. Yeah. So they sell, they take 30%, 70 goes to you. Cheche, for Cheche, what they do is, if they like your book, if they have to, if they like your book, they'll purchase like 5 copies from you, and they're done with you, and then they'll sell. But they'll purchase at a discount. They'll ask you, give us a 30% or 40% discount, and then they'll pay you right away, and then they'll remain with the copies, they'll sell. Once they're out, they'll call you, need more copies, bring them. Haven't approached Textbook Center and Somanami yet. But I've sold more copies individually than I've sold with Nuria or even Cheche Bookshop. When I'm here, I'm talking to you guys, someone like, I like your smile, let me see your book. Like, here's a book, here's a copy. I'm somewhere, I perform, I'm off the stage, but like, I like your work, how can I support it? Like, thank you for asking, I like that question. Let me get my bag. Here's a copy, people buy. Someone has read your work, they share a poem on their socials. Yeah, people reach out. When someone reaches out to me, they're like, I need a copy. Like, you can get one from Nuria or Cheche, but you know what? If you get it from me, I'll sign it for you. So you choose what you want. Yeah, and whichever way. Also, attend book festivals. When this lexicon book was out, I was also skeptical because the mood around there, abduction and all that. But what I did, Macondo was happening. So I was at Macondo for the entire, was it 3 days? No, Macondo festival. Yeah. I was there walking around with my books like something I'm smuggling around. I'll talk to you and like, do you know this? Yeah. And then before I knew it, people would approach me like, this is the guy who has sold me the copy. We need 3 more copies. And then now I was just sitting around and people are approaching me. You need more copies. And it actually felt like I'm smuggling something because no one was exhibiting them, like the Nuria or whatever. They were still afraid to exhibit such a book. So I was just smuggling them. And from that, I learned that I can always do this when festivals are there, not smuggling, but when festivals are there. Because people attending book festivals, these are readers. These are people who love literature. So I attend them. Raise your hand when a panel is happening. Raise your hand. I have a question. Like, yeah, blah, blah. And by the way, I'm also an author. Yeah, and actually this book talks about that topic. And it has to be talking about that topic. Yeah, but that's how you do your marketing and all that. At some point, I was actually surviving on my book sets, literally. So yeah, that's it.
So I have a question. Going by our reading culture as Kenyans, I just to ask from bookshops. I know you've said you do sell more through interaction than from the bookshop. Do you think that is generally how it is like for a lot of writers? Yeah, in Kenya.
In Kenya, I'll begin with the notion that Kenyans don't read is wrong. It's not true. Kenyans read, but also a good percentage of Kenyans don't read. But the good thing is the readers read, really read. The readers read to the extent that they cover up for those who don't read. So it's still good. For the bookshops, most people who sell from the bookshops, your book has to be, well, one, it has to be really good. And number 2, you have to have a good marketing strategy. Most of us as writers and even creatives, we fail to consider marketing as that crucial. you're actually supposed to set aside money for marketing. Hire influencers, let them talk about the book, and they should be strategic here. Don't let, for example, Flacco to talk about your book. Not in a bad way. Yeah, if it's not relevant, yeah. If your book is maybe on the girl child or something, it would make sense if, let's say, Adele talks about it, yeah. Then imagine Americ selling a book about girl child. Yeah, so you actually can get Adele easily than getting Americ's. Yeah. But also DM these guys. DM them. The other day there's an influencer who actually DM'd me. She was like, can I get a copy? And then I'll review it. And then I went checked and she has numbers. I was like, okay, I'll give you a copy. So I imagine DMing them. There are people who are like, but I'm a celebrity, I can't DM you. But if you DM them, and also generally people like feeling like they're giving you a favor. Yeah, it's a good thing. Apply it in your life generally. Instead of telling Lexus to give you that water, make it like he's doing you a favor, No, it could be like Lexus. I know you don't like seeing me thirsty.
Alright.
Yeah, and Lexus will be like, I'm helping this guy out. So use influencers. Talk about it. Also, your writers or your readers, if they buy the book, tell them to talk about it. Tell them to post it out there, their stories on their socials. Yeah. And by the way, guys, publish your works. It's a good thing. Me, I've met people who have never known. They have read my work, and someone in Nakuru, someone was reciting my poem word by word. I was like, whoa. I didn't even know she has my work. I didn't know her. So publish your works. Yes.
Nataka kunipea zote mbili. Okay. On that, but then this guy has pushed me, and for the first time I'm doing something that actually I've kept for so long. I think I'll be releasing a book this year, sometime this year. Yes. It's kinda a pressure. I feel the weight that is coming with it, and I would really like to thank these amazing human beings for pushing me and yes, allowing myself to release a bit of the works. And I remember some time back we had a conversation with Richie, and Richie was like telling me, the reason as to why you're publishing is not just because you're publishing. You're publishing because of the future generations that will come. That imagine your pieces of work, when people are going to go through your works or any works, if a future generation is coming, they can na wanataka kuongelea the past generation. Sisi ndio tutakuwa that past generation, and the only place they can get data information is from that. So yes, I'm doing a book called Attitude and Solitude. It's our anthology of poems, and this guy helped me a lot, and I would really like to appreciate and say thank you, even tukisonga hapo mbele. Yeah, and happy birthday, sir.
No. I don't know. Lexus anashangaa juu anajua birthday yangu.
Nini naendelea?
I don't know what Facebook did. Mimi nimeanza tu kuona happy birthday. I'm like, umetoa wapi Facebook? It's not my birthday. Birthday yangu Lexus anajua ilipita. Yeah, but thank you. Now this is how you market your work. See, this guy is already talking about it. So you guys, mukiona, it's not a new thing. You already know there's a book coming out. Yeah. Yes.
So there's something you guys have said I'd like to disagree with. Nini, I know this is not probably why you came here, but I just felt I should share this story because hata mimi nili find it was interesting. You don't have to publish your work. You can keep your work to yourself but just keep them safe so that we can find them when you're gone. So Nini, there's this lady, a very amazing photographer. You know, her work was found when she died. She was always a house manager, and when they were going through her photos, she's amazing. Like she had an amazing eye for detail, and even the way she took her photos, it was outstanding. And all I was searching for on YouTube was a documentary about photography, and then I'm listening to her story. And she died poor, and everyone kept on telling her that her work can change that, but she didn't want to do anything about it. She just felt that keeping her work to herself was the best thing she could do. And for me, that story was amazing because most of the time we want to be super stressed. Here is someone who just was contented with having good photos and keeping them to herself.
You responded.
Was I supposed to? But again, like we said, if you don't want to release, don't. If you want to, do.
After this, after getting the
But then I'm thinking, if you decide not to release them, and then you die, and now we have them, it beats the. I have a book. It's almost like a Bible, this big, of William Wordsworth. It's called The Library of William. It's some British poet. He died long ago, and after he died, what they did, they went and collected all his poems, even the draft. Some are not even complete, you can tell. They published all of them. So I'm like, if he had been publishing, we wouldn't go and start scrapping from the archives everything. So if you decide not to publish them, make sure when you die we don't find them.
I mean, it's okay for people to find them, but it was just more fulfilling.
Somebody might take credit for your work.
Yeah.
There's nothing as bad as somebody, even in your death, taking credit for work that doesn't belong to them.
Yeah. Reminds me, I saw, I think is it IG or TikTok? Someone bought a camera from these Mali people, and then he found there was still a memory card inside. And the photos were so good. So he started sharing online. If you know this, please come out. I'll give it back to you. Yeah, so I was just sharing.
So I just wanted to say something about the contracts thing, because I saw you really cringing about it. Contracts are not bad. It's how you approach them. The attitude. Most people think that when you go in, obviously you're the underdog. Whatever they give you is what you have to take. But you have to, if you know what you're looking for in the contract and the value of your product, then you have the negotiating power. So understanding royalties, how they function in publishing, understanding if you require a deposit, this is the amount that you require. If they say this number of years, are you able to part with 5-10 years and be okay? Or would you be okay with moving to another publisher, which would give you a bit more flexibility? Is there a certain percentage that they can give you after there's a word that they use, once they have gotten back I think they've gotten back all their money, then royalty starts getting to you. Is there a certain amount that you can negotiate even before that they can still be giving like a commission or something? And also in that process, is there a way that you can still benefit even if it's not from book sales? For example, you're being put in panels to talk about your book, you're being put in universities, or lecturers can invite you to still talk about your book. So it's, I think, thinking outside the box in terms of, if this is, book sales are limiting for me, are there other ways I can still, if this is locked? So understanding that, moving, there's a friend of mine, she's a marketer. She says you need to move into rooms with the audacity of a white man. Yeah. No. Audacity? Sorry? The audacity of a white man. Like white men just wanakuja, they say what they want, kama utaki mi nimeenda, you know. And sometimes it's not being proud. Sometimes it's also understanding the value of your work, one, and what you need to do, how you need to survive, because that is your livelihood. That is how you need to survive. So sometimes it's, you might take the deposit, the 100,000, because it's very immediate right now. But when you're able to look in the long run, let them explain to you, okay, so tutafanya hii, this is the amount we need, but also, how will I benefit from publishing my work with you? Are there other things that I can get? Are there other avenues of money that I can get aside from that? So for creatives, I'm not one, but I really advise, please understand how other, other sectors revolve around what you're doing. Unfortunately, right now, even with the self-publishing thing, you have to be more than the creative. You have to write, then itakaaje marketing, sijui nini. So you have to understand the ecosystems around your craft, and contracts is really important, because otherwise you'll just be lowballed. And it also goes all the way to, at the point that you die, what happens to your work? Is there somebody who will collect royalties on your behalf? Can it benefit your parents, your siblings, your children? You know, you have to think more than nitatoa 100,000 niingie leo. What if it moves to libraries in Tanzania, for example, or to South Africa, or to the UK? How are you still able to earn? Because now, when it crosses the border, it becomes now a whole other market. It's a whole other, like, you're able to earn more, but if you don't understand the ecosystems around how it's being marketed, who is buying, what are you getting as a person, you will be lowballed. So please look for other ways of not just understanding the craft, but understanding the ecosystems around your craft.
Yeah, just to add, so once you get that contract as a creative, always get a lawyer, someone to advise you and share. I was working with a friend in their company, and I was hired, and it's so funny, in a company now, and they have a lawyer who has came up with the contract. And this friend was telling me on the side, he was telling me, this lawyer, we have hired him to make sure the best interest of this company are taken care of. So wewe jua tu hayuko interested na interest zako, ni za hii company. So wewe pia enda utafute lawyer wako akwambie. So always get someone to advise you on the legalities of all that. To
look at your contract, rather than you sign
That's true.
No, I'm not saying it's less expensive. Your papa was behind. But if you're able to negotiate, I mean, there are entertainment lawyers.
Yeah.
Well, there are lawyers who, entertainment lawyers, IP lawyers who, if you approach them, they can give you good rates as a creative. I happen to be one of them. But that's aside from the point. But if you're able to get one, please just somebody akusaidie kuelewa hii force majeure inasema hivi, inamaanisha hii. When it says termination, it means this. When it says you're supposed to be paid at a certain date and they haven't paid, then you can take your books out of their shelves, or they can stop publishing. When you'd rather have a third eye who is not your mother or your siblings, but a professional, save you years of battling things in court, battling things, you're there frustrated. Please don't approach things like you're helpless. Never, you're not helpless, especially creatives, because the mindset is usually when you move into these spaces, kikuja sasa kwa law sijui nini hatujui hiyo. No, you can learn what pertains to your craft. So all you need is somebody extra, and the people who learn that skill, even with regards to your craft. Now there are IP lawyers, entertainment lawyers who learn. That's why, for example, I am in this space so that I'm able to understand your ecosystem and how I can approach it from the legal side. So even for marketers, also don't choose just any marketer. Deal with a marketer who understands how to market books. How to market, which audiences, who can advise you. This podcast, when did you podcast yoyote, they are able to understand the ecosystem that your craft runs around.
Okay. Nice one. I'm really getting a lot of insight from this conversation. It's really helping me forward. I'll make a lot of money. Just like my friend. When it comes to marketing, I have this question when it comes to creatives and writers and publishers. The world is moving into a different area of making money, which most people are becoming aware of corporates, how they make money. So most institutions are turning or niches are turning into unions. So is there something that we can do as creatives to ensure that we create market for ourselves? Because I believe doing it alone is a bit difficult. How can we do it? Because publishers, in selling our books, is there a way it can be approached to create a market? Because the market, maybe it's there, but it's not a good share.
I think that's a question to everyone who is here, who has insights on that and can share.
Not that I have insights, but I'm just thinking there's obviously a gap. Because, as you're interested in writing, that's the seed of it, but you don't even know what you don't know. So I'm just wondering, is there an association of writers or a place where, a one-stop shop, if you went there, you'd be told, okay, this is what's happening, this, an end-to-end kind of thing, a place where you can get information so that you can make meaningful decisions on how to proceed. Because obviously there is a gap. Because IP lawyer, marketer, I don't know what, really? All I want to do is to just let the next guy know I have something, interesting to read. So I don't know, is there something like that, an association of maybe even writers, authors, something somewhere?
I'm not sure I understand the question, so I'll just yap and see if I'll answer it. So realizing the birth of Rafinki, for instance, was an effort to find a space for poets and writers at the time in KU to stand alone. I think at the time poets and writers were given a platform for like walikuwa na curtain raise for drama activities like theater and stuff. So the first notion was to create a space where poets are appreciated, writers are appreciated. And so you realize that it's no longer your problem, it's a gap, as you're saying. It's now creatives in this space, for instance, when we're in KU, they don't have a voice or they don't have a platform to do that. And so that grows from, actually, it's not a problem here, it's a problem maybe in Nairobi, it's actually a problem in Kenya, it's a problem in Africa, it's a problem in the world. And so now that the vision now becomes bigger for building a community for creatives to do that. And then now you start like thinking of institutions or ways of formalizing what you're doing, because then that inakuwa less of a passion and now it becomes a sort of an institution on its own. And now you either start competing internally or externally, where like nyinyi katikati yanyi mko hapo pamoja, you're like, we're very good artists, so I want to sell my work, but I have a bunch of other good artists within the team that I have to like compete with them hata in my writing and stuff. So basically you're creating more, you are marketing more, and in 2 or 3 years everyone has achieved a level of accomplishment in terms of the audience. And so sahi Richie, like Oyamo, namuita Richie jo, like I knew him as Richie like when he was like, let's say 5 years back, the amount of reach alikuwa nayo Richie na Rich the amount of reach alikuwa nayo that time si similar na sahi. And so you've grown with people who have also grown and expanded in their own way. So that then becomes easier for you now to market stuff like you're doing. Say, I don't need to do so much to like do something very little. Now when I'm thinking about even the community internally, it may expand, the people inside individual and expand. And then in your personal expansions, you have expanded the collective. So now the collective is now housing new people who either, or actually don't necessarily even know you as individuals, know the collective as a whole. And now that in itself now maybe attracts you to funders or donors or people who are interested in like the work that you're doing. And then now that expands your reach even further. So because you realize that you need money to like do the heavy lifting to like figure that out. So I feel like it's a process, and I feel like the people internally also push the agenda for the growth of the expansion of the collective in a way. And so that now then impacts the community. As a community, like as an organization just as yourself, and the community as a Kenyan culture of either reading or appreciating of poetry and literature. Does that sort of, I don't know if that was what you asked. I wasn't even sure what I was answering.
I think
feel like the question you asked is an association of writers.
there is.
Yeah, so so me, I just feel like Rafinki is one of those places.
So what's your vision as
Can you hear me? I don't know why we're using microphones. Okay. I think there are a lot of associations in Kenya. It's just, I guess, getting into them is the problem, because I know there's BAKE, Bloggers Association of Kenya. We have Pen Kenya. Which one else? There's also Creative. By the way, Creative Writers Association.
Yeah.
Which one else? We even have an association of journalists that write about arts and culture. So they're there. I guess it's just finding them. And we even have Amuka at Goethe Institute, where you can have your writing peer reviewed every, I think, last Saturday of the month. Yeah. I think maybe also checking them out online, because they're run by old people. Maybe Facebook. Yeah.
I actually, well, the reason why we are using the microphone is we are recording. I actually joined the Writers Association like 2 weeks ago. I didn't even know it exists until then. And one of our senior editor inboxed me and he was like, there's this association and we are looking into incorporating young writers. So and then he was like, there's a fee, membership fee, 1,500. I paid and I joined, and much is going there. They are really doing things there. And I was like, how is this happening when I didn't even know about it? So I guess as you're saying, Writers Association of Kenya, they're actually having the grand meeting this on 23rd. The next Saturday but one at Daystar, and it's open to any writer who wants to attend. And then from there you can get to know how to join or be a member or how to benefit. But I found it has good writers, people like Kithaka Wamberia and a number of them. So I'm like, okay. So yeah, they are there. Those associations are there. And we have Rafinki, but we are asked what is our mission, what is our
Your vision, like
yeah.
You will have succeeded when in 5 years you have accomplished what?
Yeah. Imo, you want to answer or I answer?
Use the mic.
I don't know. I think our goals are always changing or growing with us. So I think we'll always have something we're working toward.
Yeah, so at the moment, like, okay, no pressure. So I'll check it out myself.
Yeah, but briefly is want to make sure that we enable creatives to sustain themselves using their art. And that's why we do these kinds of workshops, so that people gain this knowledge on how to maneuver these things. And we have different every month. The other one was on AI writing, and then before that we had editing. Yeah, so we had another one on financial literacy. So yeah, that's what we do. And also now, after the knowledge, giving people the platform now to publish, write, perform, and all that. So yeah, but as she said, it keeps on evolving. We get to points and we are also, we didn't know there's this gap that needs to be filled. So let's work on filling this. Yeah, time is spent.
Can I add one last thing?
Yeah, you will add.
For joining associations,
Yeah.
Maybe also attending literary events. We have, okay, it's not us. Makondo Festival is coming up in September. So there are a lot of like literary enthusiasts and people and stuff that are really in the space. So maybe you'd attend a panel discussion, and then people on the panel are like, oh, I'm the head of blah, 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 blah. And you're like, that's the woman I would talk to. So maybe that's also another way you can find some of these platforms.